Hello, everyone. This is your host, Ehsan Sheikh. I hope you all are doing well. And I welcome you all to another episode of Physical Life Session with an amazing personality, with an amazing and talented personality. And her name is Alice Law, who has joined us all the way from London. And I'm really thankful to her that she has joined us. She has taken out the time. And I would like to tell you guys about her that she is a stress management and holistic performance coach, a certified life coach, and she is an international speaker, a great speaker. She is also the best-selling co-author of the international best-selling book, The Law of Brand Attraction. If you haven't read that book, I must recommend you to read it because I think the things that she has explained over there are pretty amazing. And Alice works with corporates and different brands, and she has talked about different issues that are found in people's life. Or I would definitely would want you to watch the show, and you will understand that what she's doing, the contribution that she's doing, that she's putting up and into making this world a better place, or you can say the people who are facing different problems when it comes to stress. So I think she has been doing amazing, and she has been featured as an expert on Good Morning La La Land. I think it's a kind of a program, and Evening Standard Magazine and CNBC. So she has been an amazing person. So this is the kind of introduction that I can give of her, which is very brief, which is very small, because I know that the work that she's doing is quite humongous. So thank you so much, Alice. I think it's really an honor for us that you joined and you have given us the time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
All right, Alice. Since the day we are born, we have always found ourselves into this deep thought process. We have always seen ourselves as like we are always found in some kind of a quandary, some kind of a dilemma, or we are having this issue that we don't know where our life is heading, or what are we going to do with our lives. So we have this uncertainty. We have different issues. We have different problems mentally or physically, or so what is happening is that really is creating altogether a kind of depression, a kind of frustration, which is found among the people. So, having said that, I must say that an average age of 60 year is like is full of pressure. People have this thing on the mind, on the top of the mind, that we have a stress. We are feeling stressful, and this is what is something that you talk about. So, Alice, the first question that I want to ask to you is that please tell the people about your story, that how it all started out, and why did you even think of it? That people really need to know about it. They really need to have this idea that what is the stress and how to come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because my story, I really did not think I was going to get into this work. I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was younger. And I think, like
Hmm.
so many people, you have different ideas and then your life takes you on a different path, which it definitely did for me. So it started for me. I've experienced in the last 10 years of my life sort of what I call stress in every dimension. And it was started when my eldest sister was diagnosed with cancer, and we had a 4 long year battle with her, and then sadly lost her to cancer 5 years ago. And then at the same time, I realized everything was going on for our family wrong at the same time. So my dad got very depressed, suffered mentally after losing my sister. He was an entrepreneur and he had businesses at the time that were really struggling financially. And we had to
Hmm.
sell our home. And I got made redundant and had a breakup, like so many people do, and had my own physical health problems from stress. So I had a colon cancer scare in my stomach because I was manifesting so much stress in my stomach, but it wasn't
Right.
cancer, it was just stress. And all these things just kept continually coming. And I realized, I was like, well, something's going to have to change because all these
Hmm.
things are out of my control. So that something would have to be me. So I went on a journey of discovery, really, and discovered a new way of thinking and being and coping around stress and anxiety because I was living continually in a stressed and anxious state, and from time to time, depression.
Right.
Watched my dad really suffer. And I lost my dad to stress related illness a year ago. So I really, really, really see how it is such a prominent thing. And it's such a thing in people's lives that we just can let carry on and then it
Hmm.
takes over completely. And I think it's something people need to prevent rather than cure. We everyone's
Yeah.
going to get stress, but it's really how we can become resilient to it, really.
And then you compose yourself, and then you try to figure out that if this is what is something that I have gone through, and there are many other people who are going through a lot, and you're very lucky enough that you went through something, you had to face a problem, and you knew it, that how to come out of it. And then you also tried your level best to make people understand that this is how is the way. So I think that's pretty amazing, and this is what is something that only those people can do who are quite stronger, who really have that kind of charismatic leadership, I must say. Because what happens is that people start following you. You know, if they see you, if they look up to you, so they know that you have really made a difference in your life, and you have. If you can do it, then we can also do so. You know, I think it's pretty amazing. I really appreciate it. Alice, tell me something. Let's talk about this stress. You know, a kind of a word which really gives that. You know, oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. You know, so I'm really, you know, people are confused, and they even there are many people who do not even want to share that they have a stress, you know, because they want to hide it because they think that it's a very big issue, and it is. But you know, they're quite worried about it. I don't know, but they feel very reluctant in sharing that maybe. So, but my question to you is, can you tell us the the symptoms of it? I mean, how do we know that these are the signs that you have some stress? You know, I'm talking about very generic kind of signs that you can call that you are having this stress. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, with terms of stress as well, one thing I will say is you have macro and micro. So
Mm-hmm.
your macro stresses are the outside stresses in your life that come in, that are those very obvious life-changing things. So whether it's losing, a loved one, death of a loved one, health
Mm-hmm.
problems, big financial problems, a
Yeah,
job loss, all these massive stresses that can
yeah.
happen. And then we have micro. And micro stresses are continually happening to us throughout the day, unless you live on a desert island with surrounded by palm trees. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
in the fast-paced modern world is going to have micro stresses. And what happens is that these build up over the day, and they can actually cause chronic stress in the same way big ones can. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the little things like the upsetting headline from the news, which we're seeing a lot of at the moment, an upsetting comment from someone, you losing your car keys, any little thing like this. These are all micro stresses. And
Right.
these build up in our system in the same way
Mm-hmm.
that macro do. And people don't realize that they can have the same effects slowly in the background. So
Right.
all things can make us feel
Mm-hmm.
emotionally and physically one way or the other. So emotionally, they make us feel irritated, fatigued, unable to cope and make clear decisions. You can get memory loss. You
Mm-hmm.
can also just feel like everything is getting on top of you, an increased amount of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that as well, stress can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression, long-term stress. So those are the ongoing rolling effects and
Mm-hmm.
emotions it can turn into. But then the physical side as well is that, the tightness in your chest, anything that isn't normal to you, is
Mm-hmm.
that your body's trying to show you that
Like
you,
most of the people say, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Like most of the people say that we are having pain in the body. You know, we are exhausted, we are tired, we are feeling out of the breathing. You know,
yeah,
is that true?
shortness of breath, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
tight chest, headaches, backaches, neck aches. You hold a lot of stress up here. And like I
Right.
said before, stomach problems are really a massive sign of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, all these kind of things are just your body just manifesting stress in a physical way. But I always say to my clients, I'm like, if you're having it physically, then you really, really, this is like your massive wake up call to do something about it, because your body is the last thing to show you that you're in stress. So you will have
Mm-hmm.
actually been holding this for a while, and it's been wearing down your system.
Right, right. Alice, we are living in a kind of an age where the upbringing of the children is quite different. Or they're more concerned about what is happening around the world when it comes to Netflix, when it comes to social media platforms, when it comes to gaming zones, and so they're more concerned about that. They're more into it. Not only the kids, I'm talking about everyone, including me. Not including me, okay. I have a very different kind of a lifestyle that I'm living. So I do a lot of things that I will be sharing with you later on in the conversation. So my point is that, so people are living their lives in that kind of zone. They are not really into that kind of zone, which is called the reality of life, what I believe. I mean, we are really away. They're really away from the nature. They're really away. I mean, how about the fact that go to the river and just listen to the sound of the waves, listen to the sound of that flow, or echo in the mountains? When you go over there, when you expose yourself to all of those trees or the forest where you've gone and you're living there and you're just moving around here and they're looking, watching out things. So this word is something really gives you an immense pleasure, I think, and the sense of connectivity, because I think this is what we are made of. So, Alice, what would you like to say about this remedy that you may have when you're feeling stressful? And don't you think that people are really away from it? Do you provide this as a solution to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nature is one of the world's greatest healers. And like you say, we've become very disconnected from ourselves, from nature. And nature is actually, it's a massive guidance to us. There's
Mhm.
a phrase that says, a tree won't try to stop the wind from bending it. It will just go
True.
with it so it doesn't snap. Whereas we as humans will try and resist, what's stressful, we'll try and be pushing different ways. And
Mhm.
sometimes it is just about actually just relaxing and going with the flow and actually taking nature's sort of guidance. If you sit by the sea for 5 minutes, or you sit by a river, or you sit outside by a tree, you don't even have to be, you can be in a city, go and stand by a tree and just actually take some time to breathe
Mhm.
in that calmness. It has a massive, massive healing effect. It really does. I completely agree.
Right. Most of the people call it, Alice, as like philosophic, And I have experienced this thing whenever I say to the people out there, and whenever I share my views with them, and I say that this is what you should do. I'm talking about very, kind of in a very generic way. So when I see them and I tell them, and they're like, you're Ehsan, you're very philosophic, you're very imaginative, and I said, no, this is what is the reality. You're not doing that. You're just what you're doing, that you are just only confined in a room and you're just sitting on the couch and just doing all those things like that you're doing, playing the game or watching a movie, which is not bad. I'm not against that, but what I was saying is that it's very important to go out there and listen to the people, or watch them doing what they're doing, their actions, what they are doing, understand them, observe them. Do not observe them in that kind of way that they got, oh my god, why is he stalking us, so yeah, it's so do you agree with it? Am I being so philosophic, or is it a very kind of a fact which is very scientific based?
No, I completely, it's both ways. I believe that you have to observe the outside world and you also have to observe yourself.
Mm,
So we can't observe ourselves if we're constantly having distractions in terms of television, movies, all these constant things that we're looking at. Actually taking that time to sit with yourself in silence, whether it is under a tree or inside, and just concentrating on your own breath and understanding how you're feeling, what's coming up for you. And actually getting to know yourself on that deeper level is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, because that's when you actually understand why
yeah.
you get stressed and where it comes
Mhm.
from for you. Because stress is very, very individual in terms of what makes me stressed might not make what you
Mhm.
stressed, but it all depends on how you've grown up and what you've been subjected to in your environments. I had someone on my podcast the other week, and he was saying that his dad, he grew up in hospital. His dad was always in hospital, so he never found hospitals stressful because he'd grown
Mhm.
up around hospitals.
True.
But
Yeah.
someone else who's thrown into that situation now would suddenly find that very stressful. So sitting with yourself and actually just stopping the distractions and just getting to
Mhm.
know yourself and watching what's going on around you. I completely agree. It is like it's proven to be able to calm your nervous system to really get inside that perspective of stress better.
Right. Alice, it really got me to the question that this book of yours that you've written down, or the codes that you write down. I don't know whether anybody has asked you this question or not, but I'm going to ask you this question. How this all comes into your mind? How, and you just write it down, and it has a deeper meaning, and it is connected with all of the people around. I mean, if I'm reading something, if I'm reading any of the code of yours, I'm so connected with it. I'm so drowned into it. I have this feel that I'm deeply rooted with it. So, how does it happen? Is it something you also go somewhere, or you take out the time for your own self and then you write down something, or it just, how does it happen?
Yeah, it is. It is a quiet time for me. Do you know? And it'll either come to me in nature as a thought, or I sit down and I write and I have complete silence and I sit in my own space, or I've just done a meditation, so I'm feeling very connected, and then I just sort of it comes through me almost, I'd say.
Right. Talking about this, uh, the lifestyle. Uh, could you tell me, or could you tell the people out there who are listening or watching, that does this healthy eating style also affect you about the way you're feeling? I mean, like we are more into junk food, or we love that. I do not eat anything until the burger is found on the table with all of the mayonnaise dripping out of it, and I'm having that. So this all really gives you fun when you're having it, when you're eating it. But what I believe, what I'm asking you is that healthy diet is also very important in order to get rid of these things. Does it also become the reason for what you're feeling? Is it so?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe so. Your diet can really affect your mood. Like if you
Mhm.
say like you've had a sort of week of burgers, you're not going to be feeling as
Yeah.
energetic or maybe even as mentally able to cope with stress
Hmm.
because you've kind of clogged your body up, almost so to speak. And you also have a massive gut-mind connection. So
Hmm.
we have bacteria in our gut that actually science is now showing can cause depression and things like that if it's imbalanced, and your
Right.
diet can cause that imbalance. So it's really important to have a sort of
Hmm.
clean, alkaline diet as much as possible. And then obviously enjoy the things in your life, like the burgers and everything, because we all do, but to just not make it an ongoing thing.
Yeah, what happens is that we are quite habituated to it, and then it becomes very difficult to get. All right, most of the people might be thinking that that this guy is really against these kind of things, or he's really against the fact that you're having, and he's having this critical kind of a talk. But I'm doing that because I follow the fitness regime. I always do that, and I really love doing that. So that is why I'm doing. And this is what normally people do. We start. I think what is it called in psychology? You might know better. I don't know. uh, oh, all right, I just completely missed the word. So let's get to another question. Alice, could you define me? It's a very deep question, and I know that you would answer it very well. How do you define spirituality, and how,
Spirituality.
yeah, spirituality, and how it can be beneficial to you when it comes to stress or any kind of tension, or whatever you're feeling, your anger, your aggression? How do you define this as spirituality? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I love about spirituality is that spirituality means something different to everyone, and that's why it's so all inclusive. It's
Mm-hmm.
lovely in that sense. And for me, spirituality personally means a greater
Mm-hmm.
connection to myself and a greater
Mm-hmm.
connection to something outside of myself. So, spirituality in terms of stress, for me, I absolutely use it in all my processes. I believe that we have to have a calm soul as well as a calm mind to have the calmer self. So, you can have as calm a mind as you like, that voice in your head that can say different things and make you stressed. If you manage to calm that down, but you're still feeling
Yeah.
stressed because your soul is stressed, because you're not spiritually connected and actually living true to your values and your purpose and where you're meant to be going in life, you can still feel stressed. And equally, you can have a very
Mhm.
calm soul and be doing that. But if you can't learn to calm your mind and stop that voice, that ego voice, you'll still be stressed. So spirituality plays a large part for me. It's the connection between mind and soul and making sure they're working together. And with stress, for me, spirituality, it's that connection to yourself, like I said, something outside of yourself, and that brings a
Mhm.
sense of calmness that really is unshakable when you actually connect to it on a deeper level. I think meditating every day, I mean, I meditate every day just to feel that connection, that stillness,
And
and
what
it
are the
really
things
has a
involved
massive
through
effect.
which you meditate? What are the techniques? What are the things that you do in order to get meditated? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many different types of meditation, and this is something, people think that maybe to meditate you have to be Yoda on top of a mountain and not have a single thought come through your head, but that's just
All
not the
right.
case.
Mhm.
So it's really about finding one that's right for you, and you can do guided meditations. So I have guided meditations I give people
Mhm.
that are just, someone guiding you with your voice. I do something called calming thoughts, which is me guiding people through answering their own internal questions so they come to a sort of peaceful conclusion.
Mhm.
Then you also have breathing ones, so just
Mhm.
simply breathing deeply, concentrating on actually getting the breath into your diaphragm, so your stomach instead of your
Right.
chest, because we spend a lot of time when we're stressed shallowly breathing up there, and you may have
Yeah.
not taken a full breath at your desk all
Mhm.
day. Then this, you can have a more spiritual experience unguided and just ask for guidance to come to you. And there's
Right.
mindfulness meditations like walking. And then my favorite little quick one, which I'll show you now, is just simply it's a form of meditation, but it's simply a smile meditation. So
All
if
right.
you're feeling extremely irritated or
Mhm.
stressed, and you can do it anywhere, you just simply close your eyes and force your face to smile for 2 minutes or more, And what it does is your body tricks your brain into releasing the same happy hormones as it would as if you were usually smiling. So
This is what
dopamine
we
and
normally
everything.
have to do when we are feeling down. This is what you said?
Yeah. So
All right.
just even if you don't feel like it, just close your eyes and force your face to smile
Try to
if you're
smile.
feeling, yeah. And your
Are you
body
able to
will
do it, Alice?
release.
Are you able to do it whenever you're doing that, or is it like, how can I smile right now? Did
Yeah.
you ever ask this question to yourself?
But that's the thing. You'll ask yourself this question, then you keep smiling, and then
Mm-hmm.
your brain will catch up with your body because that's what it does. It releases the happy hormones because your body's telling it it's happy. And then you'll
All
find
right.
you might end up laughing at yourself, which is what I usually do. So it really changes your state.
Right. All right. Then I'm gonna do that. I'm for sure. I'm gonna try it. So thank you so much for the piece of advice, by the way. So you mentioned in one of the chapters, Alice, it was about. I think I'm not going to quote the exact words, but what it meant was that fear is something. Fear or stresses are something that can be very bad for you when it comes to taking your decisions. The rational decision making that you do. And I think it is very important that deep down in our minds, when we have fear, we really are scared of things, we're really scared of taking decisions. So what we normally do is that we focus on the other things. We do not focus on the main problem. And this is what is said, that to worry, uh, what is it called, I don't know, it's a big worry to worry in a problem. So this is how the situation gets, because we are not focusing on the problem, but we are focusing on the other things, because we are not focusing, actually we are distracting. So this is what is called distraction. So Alice, could you tell us that how can we avoid those distractions, even though it's a very wide topic? I know it cannot be told in just one session or in 20 to 30 minutes talk, but could you define how to avoid those distractions? Is there any kind of a way? And how true is it that I have mentioned in front of you that fear really makes you put up into a position where you can't take the right decision?
Yeah, it is. It's completely true. So when you are in this fear-based state, you tend to be working from your irrational mind, and that's your ego voice, which is completely disconnected from your soul voice, your intuition, the calmness that that will make the
Mm-hmm.
right decisions. And so worry, there's a phrase actually that says, worrying is just praying to God for what you don't want. So continually worrying. What we actually do as well when we worry and we overthink things, our brain and body can't tell the difference between, say, what you're worrying about that would be stressful happening right in front of you and you
Mm-hmm.
happening in front of you in your mind. So the same reactions in your body go off and the
Mm-hmm.
same damaging effects of stress
Mm-hmm.
go off. So it's really, really important to try and get that back and to talk to yourself well and to not worry as little as possible and reframe that. So, I mean, a quick technique I can tell you really now that is very easy to use is to simply use something called cancel. So it's all about noticing when you are worrying or you are going into a fearful mindset and having those bad conversations internally. So when you do notice it, just taking
Yeah.
a moment, pause, take a deep breath, and then repeating either in your mind or out loud, cancel. And what that does, it pattern interrupts you, but it also cancels once with your conscious mind and once with
All
your
right.
subconscious mind, the negative
Mm-hmm.
thought. And then you take the time to then choose a new one. So think of something else or to think of what you were thinking of in a positive way. So it's
Mm-hmm.
something you can quickly ingrain in your mind so it can become a habit. And it just, yeah, pattern interrupts that worry, really.
Right. Right. I think it's pretty amazing, and the fact that you mentioned overthinking. Oh my God! I mean, this is what is something, a real genuine problem of many people. They are more concerned, and they're really overthinkers. And I have even in my acquaintances, I have known a lot of people who are really the overthinkers. One of my friends, I call him that. I tell you what, it's a very interesting. Even though if he's listening to this show, if he's watching us, he's gonna ask me the question that why did you ask that? Because it is totally him that I'm mentioning. He's the kind of a person, Alice, that he has to go to his office on Monday, and so he has Saturday off and Sunday off. So he is on the weekend. It means on Friday. So what normally happens is that he's really worried on Sunday morning when he wakes up. He's always like saying, "I have to go to office tomorrow. I have to go to office tomorrow. I have to go to office tomorrow." And he's repeatedly saying that. And whenever he meets me, and I always say, not only me, but many of my friends really say to him that you're so much concerned. You're really repeating those things that I have to go to office, and this is what is something. I always say to him that you are an overthinker. You are an overthinker. You're really thinking a lot. And I think, yeah, to focus on the fact that you really have to come out of it. You have to stop thinking. At least I don't know why we uh, don't stop. We just keep going on. Alice, having seen a lot of things that you have gone through in your life, the misery, the joy, the ecstasy, and the pessimism or optimism, you have seen this all stuff. You have gone through that period of time, and you have now you're helping people out. How do you define failure according to your definition, according to your experiences? Yeah.
For me, failure is just not getting back up to try again.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is failure. So I don't believe that there's any failure in terms of when we fail now. So failure is just teaching you something that you need to learn so that you can then achieve a greater.
Mm-hmm.
So I never see failure as failure, but as a huge lesson, as a
Mm-hmm.
detour in the right direction. And it really is, yeah, for me, the only failure would be for myself to not keep trying to do whatever I want to do, or to not, help someone else to try. So I think for me, failure is a detour, but just in the right direction.
Right. Alice, how do you say to the people out there, okay, let's ask this question. I'm going to ask you about this pep talk that we have with our own selves. How effective is it is, you think that, things that we say to ourselves, because, most of the things are there that we keep saying into our minds. I always say that we talk to each other within our mind, uh, with no sound. We are just speaking something, we're just saying something on the mind, on the inside. I'm sure people can connect with it. So, and I always say that you need to stop. I think they need to stop. If they're not stopping, they're gonna drive. They're gonna be crazy, because they're repeatedly saying some things on the inside. So, how effective is this pep talk, Alice? Because you have experience and you are the master of this field, so people would trust you. Obviously, they would listen to you. So, what do you say about it?
I mean, I'm so glad you brought this up because it is honestly, as far as I'm concerned, it is the most important thing.
Mm.
I always say the most important conversation you will ever have in your life is the one you have with yourself, because it's the only one you're going to have from
I
start to
think this
finish.
is what is gonna. I'm gonna have to write because you've said something very well. Yeah.
It's the only one you have from start to finish. No one else is going to be talking to you from when you were born to when
Mm-hmm.
you die,
Mm-hmm.
and every single second of the day. And why it matters so much is because emotionally, the same responses go off within us
Mm-hmm.
when I say something bad to myself as to when you said something bad to me. So if you said something horrible to me now, like this
Yeah.
interview is horrible, and I said that internally to myself, the emotional effects on us are exactly the same. Your brain can't decipher the difference. So how you talk to yourself continually really, really matters. And we have the power to rewire our brains to have pathways that are stronger towards
Mm-hmm.
kindness to ourselves, towards positivity. At the moment, if you haven't worked on it, it will be stronger wired to negativity, because in caveman times, in the olden days, our brains needed to be wired to the
Mm-hmm.
negative to look for threats. Otherwise, you wouldn't survive. If it wasn't looking out for anything bad that could happen, you could get eaten by a lion. Whereas now, it's still looking out for the bad. And unless we consciously change that, we consciously change that inner dialogue with ourselves to say how great you are, how well things can go, then it's very easy to go into the negative. But the most important part of it is that it damages your emotions, it damages your confidence, it damages your self-esteem, it damages your energy. So you really have to make a decision with yourself and say,
True.
would I talk to my best friend or someone I really respect the same way I
Mm-hmm.
talk to myself? And if the answer is no, then you really need to change it.
Very true. Alice, this is what is something that I'm going to say, which is very, very odd. I think it's very ironic that I'm going to say that. Most of the people I have seen so far in my life, I've experienced because I've met them a lot and I've seen them a lot. They're very much serious, and they're quite sad. I don't know, and they're quite dejected. I don't know because of what, but what I know is that they are doing that on purpose, intentionally. They are like kind of poetic people, and they have become so imaginative that they enjoy being in that kind of a state, not in that kind of a state which is dangerous to have. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I don't know what normally happens, or do people find something like that into themselves? Because what I mean to say, I think it's a very confusing kind of a question that I've kept in front of you. It has a dichotomy, but I would say, let's make it simple. What I mean to say is that people are really sometimes, people say that when you are really having some pain, when you are going through something, you become an artist. You you really get into the zone of art. And then there are two types of energies that come out of you. One energy is going to drive you, crazy. It might take you to drive a car and hit somewhere. And the other energy is a kind of an energy that might want you to take a pen in your hand and then write down something, which is very cool. And the very next morning, maybe if you have a good luck, you wake up and then, oh my God, Paul, that's pretty amazing. I've done something very good. So is it so? Does it happen? Does it make you something kind of an artist? It's a very lighter kind of a question I've asked. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it makes you, I mean, I like your definition of an artist. That's a nice way to put it. But I think what it does, it's just, it connects you to a greater empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So, a greater empathy for people and things that you may have never connected to before. You
Mm-hmm.
suddenly find empathy in a situation that you see in front of you that someone is emotionally hurting. You might not have gone through the same situation, but you can
True.
actually feel it. So, I think it opens that sort of gateway for you, and then you can really, yeah, release some amazing ideas from it. Things can come through in that way. But I think, yeah, it's a greater connection to empathy, really.
Right. Uh, Train your mind. Uh, there is a saying going on that goes on in this way, that train your mind in a way that you see good in everything, you know. But I believe that we have trained our minds in such a way that we see bad in everything. I'm sorry for that. Why? Because I don't know that if someone, even if someone is doing very well, we would always come up with this thing. By we means few people, most of the people, but I have met so far. I'm sorry, but they think this way, that why, if someone is doing good, why is he doing good? I think it should have been done like that. It could have been done like that. It could be like that. So we have trained our minds sometimes, and this is what we also get to see on social media. We see a lot of criticism, but unfortunately most of the criticism is very destructive, which is not constructive. So uh, I don't know why I'm asking this question, Alice, but why is it so? I mean, you have met a lot of people, you've interacted with a lot of people. Is there any kind of a reason? Is there any kind of a negligence that we have as a society, or as a major responsibility do we have on our shoulders when it comes to the upbringing of things, or how do you see this?
And I see it with its judgment. So it's so much easier to judge someone at something outside of yourself than to actually
Mm-hmm.
look at what you need to heal within yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
people who are constantly judging and saying, this is wrong,
Yeah,
that
it's
is
very
wrong, that
true.
is wrong, they have a
Yeah.
lot internally that they are not dealing with or not willing to look at within themselves. And I think there's an enormous amount of people in the world who aren't taking the time to actually understand themselves, to do the work on themselves, to be the greatest version of themselves and process emotions and, really try and be that positive force in the world. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so much easier to come out as judgment so that they don't have to.
Right, very true. Alice, so this is the side of Alice which we have seen, which is very professional, which is very firm, and that has made her very composed. And she's the kind of a lady who's very strong, and who knows her responsibility, and who is taking the responsibilities ahead in a very good way, in a very effective way. Bravo for that. Now let's go to that kind of Alice who is out of this zone, who also has a heart, who also has a good life, has a kind of a life which is lighter. So apart from this, Alice, how do you see life now? I mean, after reaching here, when you have helped a lot of people, when you're helping still a lot of people, when you've spoken with a lot of people, when you are, when people recognize you, when people see you, when people look up to you. Now, what else is there that Alice wants in her life?
I mean, for me, I love the simplicity of life. For me, I just love, great friends, great food, great music. That makes me very happy. Being sort of traveling, well, not that's not happening this year, but it's seeing the world, seeing things like that. But I
Right.
mean, for me, it's the simplicity of life. I think from everything I've been through, there's so many things we take for granted.
Right.
and without even realizing. And sometimes I feel myself doing it again now, and I have to remind myself,
Uh-huh.
God, just be grateful that you got to go and spend a nice weekend with your mum, or all these little things that people can take for granted, and just being grateful for the simple things, I think, for me is what makes me happy.
Right. So, does Aleph have any kind of a regret or any kind of a thing that I wish I could have done that, I wish I would have done that, I wish this would never have happened? Or is it like she's satiated with all of the things that she has, or she's satisfied? Or is there any kind of a block which is untouched, which she now wants to touch and wants to, conquer? Is there anything like that, Alice?
I mean, I don't have any regrets because I try to be as sort of I try to understand it as my own spiritual path, so that
Right.
anything, like I said, any failure or anything that I wish I'd said or done, whatever we have or haven't done, it's all led you to the point that you were meant to be at, which is
Mm-hmm.
now. And you might be at a point that you're thinking, I don't like this point, or you might be at a great point, but wherever you are is exactly where you're meant to be. So that's why I try and remind myself of, and that anything that's happened has brought me to that place. Um, but where I want to go, I mean, that's a different matter. I mean, I still, yeah, have lots of things I want to do and achieve and help people with. I want to write more books and yeah, or do all those sorts of things. But
So, did you have this interest since the beginning in writing books, or is it like it came in the mid of your ages? Is it like that? Writing book was always on your radar, or were you a reader when you were a child? Yeah.
no, so my sister was a massive reader, and I wasn't really a reader until Harry Potter came out. And then I was very much a reader. But now I became a massive reader when I was about 19.
Mm-hmm.
And then writing, I always loved English at school and I loved writing that way, but I didn't realize I could write, I don't think, until my 20s. And I
Right.
just wrote something for a friend and they read it. They were like, oh, that's pretty good. I didn't know you could write. And I was like, I didn't know I could write either. So I think, yeah, it's sort of come out.
But then you realize that you were a very good writer and you've written very well, and people are really loving it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I want to write more because I think it's a great thing. I think anyone should write. If you have something you want to write, write it.
Right. And I tell you what, the person who's sitting in front of you right now on the screen is also very interested into books. And I have this bibliomania because I have a lot of books too in my home. And I'm like all of the times collecting books, reading them. And, in fact, my books are always highlighted, with something. And I've written because I know. And most of the things are highlighted such way that my people around me, people say that, why have you just highlighted it? This is what is something is very normal written down there. And I say, no, you don't know. I have my own theories. I have my own reasonings. So I then attach with it. So Alice, any last message you would like to give to the people out there who are listening to you, who are watching you? What is the real message that you want to give?
I think it's just that, understandably at the moment, the world is a very uncertain place. And for
Mhm.
me, I believe that we all need to try and realize that the only thing we have control over is ourselves. And you
Mhm.
have the power to take control of yourself. You have the power to learn to
Mhm.
prevent stress, to learn to sit with yourself and have that certainty within, so that no matter what goes on in the outside world, you always have that calmness to fall
Mhm.
back on.
Right. I think that's a great message, and the real another message that I would like to give to the people out there who are watching or listening to us is that try to do something good in your life. Try to add some value in the other people of life, as like Alice is doing, as like many other people are doing. Try to do that, and if you're not doing that, at least don't try to harm them. Don't try to uh, play with their emotions, or just try to give I would say benefit to the people out there. But sitting on the and also try to embrace the change in your personality. As Alice said, you need to change. What we really mean is that life is full of challenges, but you really have to change yourself. The change is for good. And sitting on the couch having a glass of juice and cursing your life is not going to change you at all. So do something better in your life, Alice. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a very insightful conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really wish you the best of luck on behalf of Indus University. Thank you so much for taking out the time. It really has been an honor for you. I mean, for us, for all of the people around.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much, Alice. So see you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.